Hi, Tribe. This is Emily Potter. I'm the director of the Lightworker Musicians Tribe that you have joined. And I want to address a really powerful, vulnerable statement that one of our tribe members made a few days ago. And it's one that a lot of us have experienced. And I want to speak today's video really quietly and tenderly. So I want to first start by saying, what this thing is that we all can connect to is the experience of being so exhausted that it's really impossible. It feels impossible to create, and specifically to create our music. So, my own experience, out of the millions of times that I have felt this, I want to share that I was on my world tour and I was in Split, Croatia. And I had been working on a project for this tour for a long time, and I was specifically working on a fundraiser, and I was working 14 to 16-hour days, and there I was in this little town, just gorgeous, and I wasn't meeting my goal. I was creating this banner, and it was a fundraiser, and people were responding, but not the goal that I wanted to make. And I had 5 days left to get to my goal, and I wasn't even halfway there. So my emotions were just completely distraught. I was exhausted, and my physical body was just so exhausted from working all day long, all into the night. And I finally crashed and had 3 days that I couldn't get out of bed. And what's interesting about that is, so often when we see each other on Facebook or something, you can see these gorgeous pictures of someone traveling the world as a musician, and how amazing you can just fantasize what their life is. If you've ever been to Croatia, it's this gorgeous little town, and I had pictures of me on the beaches and things, but the truth was that I was in bed for 3 days exhausted. So I share that with the understanding that here is a video about how we can get so exhausted that it's so difficult to create anything, and no one ever needs anyone else to fix their problems. The most important thing that we can ever do for each other is just to say, I see you and I witness you as you do your journey in life. And so that's what this video is. So if you can respond to that, if something in that feels like you understand, you know that in that space, it's a time to reshape or reevaluate and renegotiate what the creative process is if you're so exhausted. And here's two tools that I have found to be really useful when I am so exhausted I can't do anything, especially because, just with my example, it was just a period of time. But what about that chronic exhaustion? Any mother, any father understands what that feels like. Or even just the experience of doing daily life all alone, that alone is enough to just be consistently exhausted. And the tough one about this one is that it doesn't go away. It doesn't go away just because you get a good night's sleep. The next day, we are exhausted again. And my sense and my take, that I won't say too much about it, is that it's the experience of our bodies having earth life experience, and how significant that is for our divinity to actually feel that limitation of energy, so that we understand who we are as source energy. And the contrast is really imperative. I won't talk much more about that right now, but that's really important to note inside of this conversation, that there is purpose to the exhaustion that we feel, so that we can know ourselves really, really well. But in the meantime, here we are as musicians, and it's too hard to want to create anything. So the first tool that I want to offer you today is so deep inside of my soul, and one of the main reasons why I chose to create this group is that I see you, tribe, as light workers first. And I see you utilizing music as the tool and as the resource and the vehicle of how you want your light to shine. So it's important for you to know that I see you as the light worker first. And the reason why is because when I talk about how we get to anchor light to the planet, what I'm actually saying is that you and I get to anchor our truth, because that to me feels like it's exact same vibration, the same energy, that you are anchoring your truth. And that alone, you speaking your truth, however that comes out, is you creating the anchor of light to the planet and creating those changes in the collective consciousness. The reason why that's important right now for anyone who feels exhausted is that you are speaking your truth when you say, my experience is that I am exhausted. And I pause, because right after the fact that we say to each other that I'm exhausted, something happens where there's like this judgment about it, that something's wrong with it, that you should be more productive and you should be doing more. All of that, those are the dialogues that happen right after we have the thought of, no, I'm speaking my truth, I'm anchoring my light, and I am exhausted. That's my truth. And that's what my experience is. And that is precious, especially if we can eliminate all of those judgments around it. And what happens when you give yourself the compassion to just be exhausted, is that all of a sudden you don't feel like you have to do anything more. Because what if, as a light worker first, you then go take a divine nap? You honor your body and you say, I, as a light worker, anchoring my truth and my light to the planet, am now dedicating this nap to the light. Thank you. And what's really wonderful about that is, as light workers, as divine and eternal beings, you most likely can do a lot of amazing work on the astral plane while you're sleeping. So there's no way you can possibly ever do anything wrong in that space of that awareness because of that. Now, I hear some of you are saying you can just make that as an excuse, but actually, if you're listening to this and you have excuse to not create, and yet that's actually just a judgment. So I sense that even just that compassion for ourselves, this is the first tool that can assist us if we are exhausted, is that we can just know that we are light workers first, and we have created music as a vehicle by which we anchor light to the planet. The second tool, though, is really connected to that. The second tool I want to honor. So the first one is that we are light workers first, and we are anchoring our truth to the planet, which is what brings the light here. So whatever your truth is, speak it. And then all of a sudden you get liberated just a little bit more to be able to feel free to tell your truth, and whatever that is. The second tool for anyone who's experiencing chronic exhaustion, so much so that you're not able to create the music that you want and such, what I'd like to share with you is that you have inside of you that space of that playfulness and that creativity. And what's happening is that we have earth life happen so that it just gets, stuck in there. So it's hard to connect to. And then we have all of the guilt of, oh, I'm a musician and I'm not playing out, and all of those things that we've talked about before. We'll talk about some more. If you feel disconnected to that playful place, so that music doesn't feel fun, then as a musician, I feel like you get to give yourself permission to then put your music on pause for a moment and perhaps find that playful, creative side through another avenue. So perhaps it's time to go to some of the other loves you have and create in other ways. The most important thing about it is that innocence and that playfulness, connecting to it, even if everything is just completely entangled, being able to have one little bit go in and bring it out. And what if that's just jumping on the trampoline, or going on a walk, or petting your cat? Whatever that is, it releases something, it shakes something up inside of you. Because one of the most important things we do as light workers is that we give ourselves a lot of significance, and I'm the first to do that. We are very, very, very powerful leaders, and we would be doing ourselves a disservice to think otherwise. We get to own that as our birthright, and yet we are not martyrs. We are not martyrs because we have this really huge thing to do for humanity. We have to play for humanity. And I used to do that martyr thing several years ago. There's so much darkness and so many horrible things on the planet, and I have to make it better, being my true and full contribution. And yet I've taken myself out of that pure playfulness, like that child in me, when I do that. And so this is the second tool, is whatever can bring you back into that creative playfulness, finger painting, whatever other things that you enjoy that is not music, if you're feeling stuck in music. Because what happens naturally is the musician in you get to trust. That musician is not going away. And that musician, he, she, they are not in any hurry for you to get into that purity, that innocence, because the innocence is power. And so creating that other space where you can connect to that creation is the second tool. And I just want you to know that I see you. I see you. And more than anything, that's the most bright and most beautiful medicine that we can ever give each other, is I see you and I witness you, and I feel that you are experiencing your truth, which is feeling tired. And without any judgment at all, you get to know that it is your body's experience as a divine being to experience it all the way. And you can never get lost outside of who you really, really are as light and as truth. Now, what I want to share as an open invitation is, if you are feeling so disconnected, if you're feeling so exhausted and you're tired of it, and you are ready to have that playfulness and that spirit of innocence as your readiness every single day, then reach out to me. If you're feeling ready to really connect to yourself as a light worker and to really know what that means, reach out to me and we will get you free. It's a really powerful place inside of you that I get to help access if you choose to. And I'd like to offer that to you. So reach out to me. You can private message me. Until the next video, I'm so grateful that you're part of this tribe. Thank you for being your contribution here. Thank you for celebrating each other and all of our leaps of vulnerability, our leaps of faith as we go forward and really unify in our purpose here, in our playfulness. And I believe in you. And I'm going to keep showing up for you. I'm here for you. And I send lots of love. Have a wonderful afternoon. Bye-bye.